Okay, we're going to do a couple ACT questions together. So first we're given what is the greatest integer smaller than the square root of 250. So the easiest way I can think about this one is square root 250. So we're going to square root 250 and we get 15.8. It says what is the greatest integer smaller than 250? So we're looking for any whole numbers that are smaller than the square root of 250, which we just found is 15.8. So the smallest integer below this is 15, so the answer is A. All of these are higher. Then we see which of the following is equivalent to this expression. So this comes back to what we just did with the conjugate, because these are conjugates of each other, kind of. Slightly different, but yes. So we're going to do the square root of 8 plus the square root of 6, and we're timesing this by itself with a negative in the middle. So what this means is we are distributing all these pieces. So we're going to do square root of 8 times square root of 8. So it stays a square root. 8 times 8 is 64. Then we have square root of 8 times square root of 6. So it's still, I have a positive and a negative, making this a negative. Square root stays, and we do 8 times 6, which is 48. So we've done the square root of 8. Now we're going to go on to the square root of 6. So the square root of 6 times square root of 8 becomes a positive square root of 48. And then now we can do our square root of 6 times square root of 6. I have a positive and a negative, making this a negative 36. So everything is under the radical because that's what we're dealing with. Now we can simplify. The square root of 64 is 8. And then what happens here? They're the same number, but one's positive, one's negative, so they become 0. Then we subtract. Square root of 36 is 6. 8 minus 6 is 2. So this is our answer. Okay, last one we're going to do together is this number 5. I'm going to have you try the other ones. We're going to look at number 5. The easiest way to do this one is to put these radicals into fractional exponents, because you now know how to subtract exponents when they're being divided. So to me, this is the easiest way. So that's what we're going to do for this example. So we're going to take this x1. Remember, it's always exponent over radical, so it's going to be raised to the 3/5. Then we do the z. Exponent is 5, and the radical, we don't see that number outside, but remember, anytime we don't see a number out there, it's automatically a 2. And then our y, exponent is 4, and the radical is 3. This is all over the denominator. So z squared is already simplified. I'm going to put it in the same color so I can see what's going on. So z squared is already written in that form. Then we have our y. It's y. There is no exponent, so it's going to be a 1. Radical is 3. And then our x value is x. Exponent is 2. Radical is 5. Now we can easily just subtract our exponents, and you can use a calculator for this, which I highly suggest because you don't want to make simple mistakes when you're taking the ACT. So when we do this, remember we subtract exponents. So we take our numerator, which is 3/5, and subtract our denominator, which is 2/5. I'm matching up the x values. This is why I color-coded it. So I get x to the 1/5. It's positive, so it stays on top. Then we do our z's. So I'm matching up the green. So my numerator's exponent is 5 over 2. And then we subtract our denominator, which is 2, and it gives us z equals 1/2. And again, it's positive, so it stays on top. Lastly is our y's, which are our pink ones. So our numerator's fraction is 4/3. Our denominator is 1/3. And you get 1. Now we just simplify it and write it so that it's in the same form. So remember, exponent is on top, radical is in the bottom. So this is the 5th root of x to the first power. For z, it's going to be the square root of z, and then y to the first power is just y. So then we find this answer, and it's here where e is. So this is how you do properties of radicals when you guys are getting ready for the ACT. You guys have some practice on Go Formative to complete. So far we've covered properties of exponents and properties of radicals. And we're just going to continue with some of these concepts to make sure that you guys are successful when taking the ACT. Bye, guys.